right, the meeting room will come to order. We are now holding GPSG meeting number 14 on the 7th of April. Thank you all so much for being here. We're excited that you're here and hope that everybody is in good health and hanging in there with everything. We're going to continue on and move into the meeting tonight with the reading of our minutes from the previous meeting. Connor?
Okay, so minutes of the previous meeting. So we had our presentation by Dr. Butler Perry on the University Graduate College update. Some administrative comments from Dr. Schweller as far as OGAPs and current awardees with travel awards. A lot of it was regarding things moving online and new applications. If you can go down, Shannon. All OGAP sponsored events have been canceled from this point forward. For the time being, regarding Perna's report, please read through all university communications. Perna information is being passed out, as well as state and local government regulations on these current situation regarding COVID-19. If you can keep going down. Regarding executive vice president reports, we had the presidential election on April 1st through 3rd via our online platform, and then GPSG officer election will occur during today's meeting via Google form. All social events and interdisciplinary events sponsored by the GPSG are canceled for spring of 2020. And then as well with Student Research Week being canceled through 2020. And then we had our Q&A session with the new officer candidates for student body president, and then all of our other executive vice president offices as well. And that should be it pretty much right now. And as far as announcements, those are all the same for helpful resources that we've seen in the last couple of weeks.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Connor. Shall we, by general consent, approve the minutes as read? Hearing no objections, the minutes are approved. We'll proceed with the reports of officers, advisors, and administrators. Our administrative comments. Ms. Johnson, are you on the call with us this evening?
I am.
Very good. The floor is yours.
So I just wanted to talk a little bit. Grad Aggies will be doing their professional development sessions, as it says, via Zoom. There is one coming up that we will be sending out to the graduate student listserv. That will be from the counseling center. I cannot think of the name right now. It's been a long day. CAPS. So just keep a lookout for that, as well as there have been some changes to the award deadlines for the Montgomery Award. So just kind of pay close attention to that. That is more of an organizational type award. So we just wanted to make sure you all were aware of that. Okay. That's all I got.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. Moving into our executive reports, Perna.
There we go. Yeah, I had to hit unmute. I think I put an updates PowerPoint on the inside the drive. So if you could pull that up, that'd be useful for everyone. So starting off, first of all, about an hour ago, we just had a meeting with graduate student leaders on concerns they had given the current situation. And I just listed sort of all the items that we discussed. And I just want to ask all of you senators, add more to it if you feel that something is pertinent and will help everybody with it. So starting off, the first thing we had to discuss was some advisors are saying that research is an essential service and mandating that their students come in for work. Next one, housing contract cancellation for students who have moved home, and then funding for students whose research is getting delayed as a result of the COVID situation. Basically, some students may not graduate at their predicted time because right now all our labs are shut down and we can't really go in. The next subject we discussed was the job market and job offers being rescinded for a lot of our international students, and what type of considerations that they need to take into account for their OPT, or their EAD card certification. So, and then pass-fail guidelines to include a C grade as satisfactory, And how do students report positive cases of COVID-19? And then is there a platform out there that shows the location of all the resources you need? For example, the CDC changed its guidelines to say that face masks are now necessary. So where do we go to find those in College Station? So if anyone knows about something like that, please share with the rest of us so we can help spread the word and actually use it. And finally, resources for students who have contracted coronavirus. If a student gets coronavirus, what type of support is there for them? So a lot of these I do not know the answers to. We do not have solutions, but the reason I'm presenting them to you is after tonight, I'll be working with administrators and getting answers for us and reporting back to you guys on what are the solutions for this. So if you have any other considerations or concerns that you have, please do email me or fill out the call tricks, and I can at least help bring attention to these issues so we can potentially find a solution for them. Okay, moving on, transportation. So the buses are still operating. They're on a modified break service. Currently, 32 buses are running versus the usual 22 that run during school breaks. So that's more than usual, but ridership has been dropping drastically. So 1,100 rides last week, and this week it's been about 750. So sorry, last week and the week prior to that. Most riders are international students who don't have alternative forms of transportation. And they estimate that there are about 1,900 students left on campus because they live in dorms or apartments, etc. Parking, so they've drastically eased up on citations. So only if you're very illegally parked. So citations for parking in handicapped spots if you don't have the correct authorization, and for parking in fire lanes, you will still get citations for it. But most of the citations are just friendly reminders telling you, please don't park in the wrong spots. But that's not a reason for us to abuse it. Just keep that in mind. There's been a parking permit return policy instituted. You all should have gotten an email about that. I know SGA is currently working on, say you have a parking permit, and usually the stipulation is if you return it in the middle of the year, you're not given priority waiting list for it in the fall. So we're trying to get rid of that stipulation so that just because you're out of town and you've given up your parking pass doesn't mean you're removed from the priority list for it next semester. Okay, and a lot of the downtime for parking is being used to upgrade all the resources across campus. They're estimating that they're gonna take about a $4.5 million loss this semester because of our current situation. I'm not sure what that means with regards to parking prices, and we'll find out sooner, I guess, about what that means. Finally, there's been some COVID-19 related hate speech on campus via social media. If you hear about instances like this, that is completely unacceptable. Please do report it through the Stop Hate reporting system that the campus has in order to ensure the safety of our students and that no one feels attacked during this trying times. Okay, last but not least, College Station PD has asked that you do not host house parties. You're all graduate students. I know you're more responsible than some of our undergrad students who have been doing this. So if you are caught, you are going to be fined $1,000 per participant and up to 6 months in jail. Simply not worth it. And if you see that individuals are hosting such parties, please do call that number to report any violations. We have to all do our part to ensure that the virus does not spread too much. And this is one of those ways we can do it by being responsible, and not everyone is following those. So please help ensure that the rest of the community is not suffering as a result of other people's actions. All right, those are all my reports. If you guys have any questions, I'm happy to answer.
Bernie, you had a question in the chat.
Oh, sorry, it's minimized. Exemption appeals. Could you be more specific?
It looked like it was something you were talking about, and then they wanted clarification.
Oh, yeah, so you need to get written permission from, I think, your department. So your PI or your primary investigator advisor has to do that written application process and then get approval for it. Otherwise, I don't think you're allowed to continue research. Okay, so it's from the university. Yeah, I haven't dealt with it, but okay. Another question. Why is it taking so long? I genuinely don't know the answer, but I can help find out the answer and get back to you guys once I have it. Then the other question is, has there been any discussion about refunding any of the student fees? This sort of came up in a discussion yesterday. The administrators are talking about it, but I think most of us had access to university resources like the gym, like student labs, et cetera, that we paid fees for more than half the semester. So they haven't come to a decision on that, but I know that other universities are also having conversations about this. So. Yes, Larissa, I will definitely share it with OGAPS.
Okay, do we have other questions for Perna? Okay, thank you, Perna. Moving into our executive committees, the 2020 Grad Camp Director application is open. It'll be due May 4th at 12 p.m. So if you click on this link, it'll take you to the application for Grad Camp Director. We know that a lot of the summer pieces are unknown at this point. But we are going to prepare for the semester as if we are continue to move forward. So if you're interested in that, it's a wonderful opportunity to help new graduate and professional students become accustomed to Texas A&M. And so if you're interested in serving as a director, please fill that out by May 4th. Moving into legislative reports, Danielle.
Thank you. If you could please just click on that link. It's just a short little form. Last Senate meeting, we had this open. We're still wanting to send just like an appreciation, a little thank you. If you could please fill that out by next week, that would be awesome. That's it.
Thank you, Danielle. Moving into reports of committee chairs, Jonathan.
Hi, so this is that link to that Qualtrics survey that Perna had mentioned. It only takes 2 minutes, but it assesses how A&M is doing with their online education. And if you have any thoughts or concerns, it is completely anonymous. So please feel free to share and let everybody else know.
Thank you, Jonathan. Moving into scholarship committee, Mingray.
Oh, hi. Can people hear me all right?
Yes.
Okay. So the GPSG awards, formerly known as the Council Awards, are now available for or open for people to apply to or nominate. They will close April 10th by 5 p.m. Though I can extend it until like midnight. I think I'll do that. I'll change it to midnight. So there are 3 different awards, and these are awards that we GPSG help evaluate, but they are through other organizations. And I'm also soliciting evaluators for the 3 awards. So please, if you have time to review a couple of applications, email me and let me know that you're available. We are trying to get these announced as soon as possible.
Okay, great. Thank you, Mingray. Our committee meetings, you should have received correspondence from your committee chairs. If not within this week, you will hopefully receive an email from them shortly. That our committee meetings, we will no longer host those within our GPSG Senate meetings this semester. So our meeting tonight and then our final meeting on the 21st. But if you are interested in continuing to serve with GPSG moving into the next school year and are interested in serving as a committee chair, please fill out the application that you'll see the link here by Friday, April 19th by 5 p.m. The different committees are listed here. You can kind of see the breakdown of what those chairs do. And I'm sure that each of these chairs would be happy to answer some questions if you're interested in any of those positions. And so we need great leaders to pick up the reins for this moving into the 2020-2021 2021 school year. So if you're interested in serving as a committee chair, please complete that application by Friday, April 19th. All right, moving into our old and pending business, we want to send a big congratulations to our newly elected 2020-2021 student body president, Utej Vatapalli. Utej, are you on the call?
Yeah, I'm here.
Yeah, would you like to just give a brief hello to the GPSG senators?
Yeah, sure. Howdy, y'all. Thanks a lot for your participation and promoting the elections within your departments. There are a lot of things that I've learned during the process, and I would like to thank everybody for giving me this wonderful opportunity. And I promise to make sure not to let you all down and do the best of my abilities.
Utej, thank you so much. And like you said, thank you for partaking into our new platform. And we're excited for the upcoming year. So thank you for your participation. Moving into our new business, we have a couple of different items here. The first is going to be GPSG Resolution 5305, Decarbonization and Fossil Fuel Divestment at Texas A&M University. And how we will handle this, because it's a voting piece, we have quorum met. And so after Derek and the committee here introduce the resolution, we will open the floor for a brief amount of discussion. And then whenever it moves to the point of vote, we'll ask everybody to unmute their mic and vote orally. If it's contested, then we will vote by a written format. But with that, we will continue in. So Derek, please introduce the resolution.
All right, can you all hear me?
Yes.
All right, great. So I think the text speaks for itself, so I'll go ahead and just start reading that right away. All right. So, whereas recent trends in emissions stray further from a track agreed upon in the Paris Agreement that limits warming to below 2 degrees Celsius. In fact, annual global greenhouse gas emissions have increased between 2008 and 2018, without immediate action that will result in a sharp decline of gases by 2030. At least 55% of current global greenhouse gas emissions, global warming will increase to past 1.5 degrees Celsius in the coming decades, leading to a non-revival life loss of many ecosystems, people, and societies. And whereas, stated in the TAMU 2018 Sustainability Master Plan, the so-called evergreen goal with regards to energy use and greenhouse gas emissions is to achieve a 50% reduction in greenhouse gas emissions per weighted campus user at TAMU by 2030. However, TAMU aims to achieve this goal while increasing its use of renewable energy by just 5% by 2030. And whereas, recent data shows TAMU greenhouse gas emissions remain higher than peer groups. TAMU emissions relative to peer groups are 61% and 24% higher in direct greenhouse gas emissions and upstream greenhouse gas emissions, respectively. Indirect greenhouse gas emissions are 22% higher than peer groups, and whereas the largest source of TAMU greenhouse gas emissions in 2018 was upstream greenhouse gas emissions due to purchased electricity, accounting for 42% of our total greenhouse gas emissions. Given that the cost of solar and wind generated electricity continues to fall and will be more cost effective than the cheapest coal-fired oil or natural gas options as of this year, TAMU can greatly reduce, if not outright eliminate, this source of greenhouse gas emissions and also massively reduce its direct greenhouse gas emissions by transitioning to meeting 100% of its electricity needs via renewables, i.e. by some combination of directly producing electricity on campus from renewable sources and purchasing electricity from local renewable energy plants. And whereas, it has been stated by the president of Texas A&M University, Michael K. Young, that our university aims to be a leader in sustainability by increasing our commitment to protect the environment and people resources that support the Aggies of today and tomorrow, while maintaining our core values of excellence, leadership, loyalty, integrity, respect, and selfless service. And whereas, GPSG acknowledges and celebrates the steps taken so far by TAMU to reduce its greenhouse gas emissions. However, we believe that the university must be more aggressive in its action. We believe that it must go further and faster, and that it can go further and faster in eliminating its carbon footprint. As it is the future of Aggies today and tomorrow that is at stake here, we believe that TAMU should spare nothing to ensure that our planet remains healthy and habitable for generations to come. Thus, let it be resolved that TAMU revise its 2018 Sustainability Master Plan, such that the university achieves net zero carbon emissions and 100% of on-campus energy coming from renewable energy sources by 2030 at the absolute latest, while pledging to effect this transition as fast as possible. And let it be resolved that TAMU joined 29 other universities in signing the United Nations Principles of Responsible Investment Initiative this year, which is 2020, and let it be resolved to stay in line with these principles of responsible investment, TAMU fully divest from fossil fuels by 2030, and of course, let it be resolved that a copy of this resolution shall be posted and delivered to the following people.
Okay. Very good. Thank you, Derek. We'll now open the floor for discussion and questions for the introducers and the sponsors of the bill.
Oh, I do have just a quick statement.
Okay, go ahead.
Oh, so earlier in this meeting, we talked about parking being deprived of $2 million, and that was a big deal. I can tell you right now, the university saves more than $2 million by using gasoline.
Very good. Can you please state your name and your department?
Oh, sure. I'm Dennis Arce, Material Science and Engineering.
Dennis, thank you. Is there any other discussion on the resolution?
Yeah, I'd like to chat in on this. One of the points I wanted to make on this, as far as the divesting portion of it, you know, I can see the desire on the decarbonization side, but from the divesting point of it, part of what you have to realize is that a lot of the land that is donated to the university does have oil rights with it, and so that's where a lot of that investment is. It's technically partially, you know, we do have investments in that where the university owns property that does have oil coming off of it. So in that case, you're not only asking the university to, you know, quit producing off of that, but essentially to sell the property off of it, which just, I don't see that being really going anywhere with the university as far as from a financial standpoint. I think that's going to be more of an issue than it's worth to get from that end of it. Just my 2 cents.
Thank you, Connor. Other points of discussion?
Kim Currens from Teaching, Learning, and Culture. From a historical perspective, piggybacking on what Connor said, a significant chunk of the money that comes into the university outside of tuitions and grants comes because all of this land, because we were a land grant college, was land that was given to the university by the federal government. And a lot of that was out in West Texas. Yeah. And so we get money from that. To ask us to cut off our nose to spite our face right now isn't necessarily a good thing.
Thank you, Ken. Other points of discussion?
I guess if I can respond to a few of these points.
Yes, please, Derek.
So on the comment that the university saves $2 million by using gasoline as of right now, that's a fair point. Gasoline is cheap. We're built, like as a city and all this stuff, to run on fossil fuels as of right now. However, if we want to keep global warming to below 1.5 degrees Celsius, even if we want to keep it to below 2 degrees Celsius, we as a society have to move away from this, which is going to involve even us, even a place like College Station, moving away from fossil fuels. So we can start that transition now. Then, let's see, as for the divestment, now I understand how hard this is going to be, especially considering how rooted we are in oil money. That's obviously been a huge part of our income. It's a part of the university. And so on the divestment side, I am, if need be, we could kind of be a little bit more flexible with this, basically rephrasing it to encourage the university from divesting when they can. But I do feel we do need to keep the decarbonization pretty hard and firm on this.
Sorry, I have something to say. Aditya Raizada, I'm from the Department of Petroleum Engineering.
Mm-hmm.
And what you're talking about is it's totally impossible to do that, especially in Texas by 2030. Like the energy consumption goes up every year, and that increases as Texas is the biggest producer of oil, and it is one of the biggest revenue streams for Texas. It's pretty much impossible for A&M to take that steps because, as other people said, most of the revenue is generated off land from A&M. So when you tell something like that, you're essentially going against the state as well, because it is one of the biggest revenue streams for the state, right? And apparently there's also a rule in the state law, or apparently like it's also illegal for you to go against fossil fuels in the state, because it is the backbone, and like a lot of jobs in the state are because of oil and gas. So I guess it's the 1.5 degrees centigrade you're talking about is possible, but I don't think it's possible in Texas because it's just too big, like an industry here, and that's like risking lives of a lot of jobs which which are in the state of Texas. So like you have to look into that. You can be like, I think it's better to say like we can reduce it, and like they should try and get to like 15 or 20%. Those are more realistic like points instead of like, being after the university. And if we pass this bill, I feel that's going to reduce the credibility of the graduate student professional government, because this isn't like, it's not realistic what you're talking about in this bill, totally. So I feel it reduces the credibility of this council, especially me being from the Department of Petroleum Engineering. Like, I think it reduces my credibility if I don't come into this right now.
Can I add a comment to that real quick? I don't think the possibility of executing on this is important. It's more of us taking a stance and saying we want to reduce the amount of carbon dioxide that the university uses. I think at the core of this bill, that's what we're trying to do, like move away completely from using fossil fuels. But I don't think the possibility of that is not our problem. It's just we're trying to take a stance and say we don't want to use fossil fuels, right? That's all we're trying to say here.
But the availability of other resources such as electric cars or anything, or even like getting any other amount of energy is a big investment for the university as well. And for everyone, like
the big point on this is not, partner, I see where you're coming from on the whole taking a stance thing. But stepping back and being the devil's advocate here and being on the other side is it seems a little extremist, and it seems like a pretty wide standpoint to take, especially just based on some of the things that are the way it's written, with some edits and more of a suggestion type standpoint. I could see it as a stance, but in the current state, it seems a little extremist as a stance take.
I would just not support this bill. Like, that's just my thing. Probably if you make some changes to it and try and make it a bit, I feel more realistic, I would not support this bill. And I would urge other people to not support this bill, especially not in the state of Texas and at Texas A&M.
So if I could chime in again.
Sure.
So as Perna was saying, a big part of it is taking a stance, encouraging the university to reduce the amount of greenhouse gas emissions and to move away as much as possible from fossil fuels. Now, let's see. As for there's a law going against the state, explain to me how this is going against the state. Basically, this would be an internal position that A&M would take. Like if they decide to affect this, if they said, all right, fine, we see what you're saying, we're going to go ahead and try and decarbonize by 2030. How is that going against the state? They don't necessarily need to cut the Department of Petroleum Engineering, especially if we remove the bit about divestment. They're just saying we're not going to use fossil fuels. Again, I was going against the state. And then on the idea that it's impossible. I disagree with that entirely. The technology exists. It is an investment. It's a very big investment. However, frankly, moving to healthier ecosystem being more, reducing fossil fuels is a investment that's going to benefit all of society. The more we can divest from that, the less we're putting in the atmosphere and the less we keep global warming, the lower degrees we keep it from. Having a healthy planet, I would say, is a pretty solid return on investment.
I just want to regroup and bring us back in before we address a couple of other suggestions or discussion points. At this point, options on the floor is we can vote to pass or fail the resolution as written. We can vote to amend the resolution in some regard, or we can move to table it to send back to the community committee to resurface back at our April 21st date. So those are some options just as a reminder. Other points of discussion at this point.
I do have one other point of discussion. According to the Austin newspaper, as of August 31st of 2019, deposits of oil and natural gas generated 1.1 billion in royalty payments going specifically to the universities. Of that amount, Texas A&M College Station got $119 million. And that is in the permanent fund that was established back when the state of Texas was established, and the state was considered what's called land poor. We had lots of land, but we had very little money. And this was a way to help take care of the universities. And I agree that I think to say get rid of all of it makes it, I think it would make me feel like we're trying to do something that isn't feasible. I agree we should decrease, but not get rid of everything.
Thank you, Ken. Other points of discussion?
Hi, this is Yutesh from Department of Civil Engineering. I choose to stick to the side of agreeing that climate change and all this all the problems regarding environment is crucial, and our stance is very, very important. And that being said, from the surface of it, this though the bill is very, very important, it seems like not completely thought through. If you're pitching the university to get rid of a lot of resources, you also have to give them alternate economic streams as to how they're going to make up for that money. How all the affected parties how are you going to make sure that the affected parties are going to get compensated? So if you really want to get the bill passed, you need to come from a business standpoint of view, rather than a revolutionary person. So that being said, I would recommend maybe launching a committee to do a full discussion on what to do with this, because this is something really, really important, and we cannot let it go into vain.
Thank you, Tej. I do want to point out that this was a resolution that came from the community committee. And so we have the community structure, structure in place. We can make a motion or entertain a motion to have a specific subcommittee for that, but this did come from a committee within GPSG. So do we hear a motion?
Shannon, I have a quick question.
Yes, I can't see who's speaking. Please.
It's Cassie.
Okay, Cassie, thank you.
Sorry, I know that we can, I don't know if I can or not, I can't remember, but we can send it back to the committee for amendments, correct?
Yes.
So someone could do that.
Yes, that
Okay.
can be a motion that we hear to send back to the community committee. And if in their interest, if they want to put it back in front of the floor on April 21st, we can entertain that in our last meeting. Thank you for that clarification. With that, do we hear a motion?
Kim Curran's Teaching, Learning, and Culture. I make the motion we send this back to committee for amendment.
Kim, thank you. Is there a second?
Yotej from Department of Civil Engineering, I second the motion.
Utej, thank you. Moved and seconded that we move this back to committee for reconsideration to put back in front of the Senate floor on April 21st. All those in favor say aye.
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 All opposed say nay. Abstentions. Ayes have it. Motion passes that this will go back to the committee, community committee, to be presented potentially back in front of GPSG Senate on April 21st. Thank you to the makers and the introducers of the motion and the resolution. Okay, very good. Moving into the next components of our new business. It is the time of the year that we move forward with our constitutional and bylaw review. You'll see that there are links there to revisions to the bylaws and constitution based on the bills and business that was passed within the GPSG Senate floor over this past year. All edits that we have within these two documents are saved within tracked changes, and you'll see that those edits are highlighted in red. You'll also see the specific edit over in the track changes version on those PDFs. Again, the work that you see within this is intended to reflect the changes of the business that we've passed within the 2019-2020 school year. And so the language that we see within these should have been presented within bills that we've had throughout this year. So we encourage you to go through these two PDFs for the bylaws and the Constitution for our annual review, and make sure that those edits look okay to you. If you have any questions or concerns on those edits, get to an area here, on those concerns or those edits, this open comment period will be open until Tuesday, April 14th at 12 p.m. So at noon. If you have questions or concerns during this open comment period, I ask that you'll please send those directly to my email. That's shannon.norris@tamu.edu. And we'll make sure that we write those into the constitutional review. We will vote to approve or disapprove these constitutional and bylaws changes in our last meeting on Tuesday, April 21st. So again, open comment period until Tuesday next week at noon. And then at that point, we will vote to approve or disapprove the constitutional review changes and bylaw review changes in our next meeting. I do want to point out that this is an annual thing that GPSG is outlined to do per our Constitution, just to help us maintain a relevancy and help us be current within our governing documents. So, okay. Very good. Moving into our GPSG officer candidate elections. Within this, you will see that there are 4 candidates for the 4 remaining positions. So our Executive Vice President and Speaker, candidate Rio O'Neill, Vice President of University Affairs, Chandler Wilkins, Vice President of Information, Rohan Singh Wilco, and Vice President of Finance, Deborah Martogi. If you would like to see their application, CV, or their headshot, that's hyperlinked to the agenda. But if you'll go to that first link there under item C, you will see the link for the officer elections. We're going to allow for a couple of minutes for you to click through within your department. We do want to point out that each department gets one vote. If this were to be held in person, it would be a lot easier for us to know within your department who is present and who was the voting member. So in order to maintain a fair and efficient process, if there are more than one vote that come in with the department, we will go with the first vote that is recorded within your department. So hopefully you've had a chance to visit with your people to confirm these positions. But with that, we'll give a couple minutes for you to click through to vote on these positions or to abstain from voting for any of the 4 positions. Okay, to allow for ample time for us to finish filling out those applications, we'll proceed with the announcements, and then we will make the call if these positions were confirmed before we take a motion to adjourn. So as we move forward with the announcements, again, coronavirus update, if you click on that main link, it is the university's primary form of communication. Any updates that we have announcements have come through that website. I'm sure you're very familiar with that and the couple of emails that we get a day about it. But in case you're not, we encourage you to look at those resources. Texas A&M University also has several resources that are specific to the particular context. So keepteaching.tamu.edu if any of us are grad teaching assistants. This link or URL might be beneficial for us as we're moving forward. Our A&M research guidance on COVID-19 through the Vice President of Research Office also offers some great resources. I know that we've had a lot of points of discussion in that. We encourage you to stay current on their updates. Career Center resources, Writing Center, Academic Center, and then our modified bus transit schedules. All of those are updated with the latest COVID-19 response, so we encourage you to click through there. OGAPS also has resources and response pieces to help us with graduate and professional students specifically. On Friday, April 3rd, OGAPS hosted a COVID-19 question and answer Twitter. And so if you're interested in seeing what some of the questions that maybe some of your peers asked and some of the responses from OGAPS, we encourage you to click through that Twitter feed and see if those questions could pertain to you. OGAPS also has a frequently asked questions page that has updates to different grading policies and other things that might be pertinent to a graduate and professional student's purview. So please visit that if you have specific questions. There's also a few different resources for people that are pulling together panels and groups of people to address the COVID-19 research response. And so this one here is a scientist volunteer form. So if you're interested in being a part of the response for different scientists volunteering to be a part of COVID-19 in the response to the pandemic, we ask that you, or if you're interested, please click through this, read if it's pertinent to your background, your experience. Might be a great way to help some of our fellow people. There's also another resource, Crowdfight COVID-19. It's an effort to organize the scientific community to address COVID-19 research. Another external source here for us that could potentially help in our response. So we ask that if you're interested, please click through on that. Internet slow, but you can click through it. It's hyperlinked to the agenda. Okay, and then our final GPSG Senate meeting will also be hosted over Zoom on April 21st. The link is present there. So we encourage you to help us finish this semester strong with our final meeting. Before we take a motion to adjourn, we're going to touch base with the people who are monitoring the polls for our officer positions. How are we doing on the ballots?
Good. I sent you a message.
Thank you, Nicole. Okay, very good. So our 4 remaining positions are confirmed. And so a huge congratulations to our incoming officers for executive, vice president, speaker, vice president of university affairs, of information, and of finance. So Rio, Chandler, Rohan, and Deborah, congratulations and welcome to the 2020-2021 GPSG leadership team. So hope that you all are excited, accept our virtual fist bump as a congratulations. Okay, very good. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
Alessandra Ribota, Hispanic Studies, motion to adjourn.
Alessandra, thank you. Is there a second?
Ruby Schaffler, Oceanography, second.
Thank you, Ruby. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
All opposed? Ayes have it. Meeting is adjourned. Be well, my friends. Be careful. Thank you.